Okay, so I'm seasoning this pan, and it had a little bit of imperfections in it and a different kind of oil, and so I went ahead and had a little bit of rust at the base of it, so around the ring of it. So what I did was I put it on a self-clean in the oven on self-clean for 3 hours, and that burns off all of the seasoning off of it. So now you're starting with a brand new pan, not a pre-seasoned pan anymore, but just a cast iron pan. And you need to get everything off of it. I mean, it's basically burned everything off of it, but now we want to have a clean surface to put our oil onto to get it to soak into it. Now, we want to get oil onto this pretty quick. Because it will start to rust almost immediately. Because if you can tell, the pan is like a gray color. It doesn't have any seasoning on it. And so that's what you want when you're starting over. Just make sure everything's smooth. And try to get as much of any imperfections off of it, because to get back to this again, we'll have to do another self-clean, and all the hours of seasoning will be wasted. If you notice that, oh shoot, I got a little bit of rust in there that didn't come out or something. Now, you don't have to get a Lodge pan. This one's from China. I like the Lodge pans, but they're really close. So long as you can swap them with other things like the lids, if they fit right. And I checked my Lodge lid for this one, and this is a 12-inch pan. Really nice universal chicken cooking type of pan. Okay, I'm going to wipe this out with just a terry cloth just to get the rest of the dust off of it, I guess. Now, I'm going to let it cool down just a little bit more where I can handle it a little more. But I need to get some oil on it pretty quick because it is going to start rusting. Okay, so we want organic flax oil. I usually get the red one. And when it's a hot pan, as long as it's not too hot, when you put the oil in it, it just like soaks it up like a wick. It's kind of cool. Now we're going to put just a really thin coat on this. Maybe a little thick at first, or it looks like it, but then we're going to wipe it out. And I think this first coat is like one of the most important, because now all your other layers are going to build up off of this one. And usually these lint-free rags that I got stay pretty clean, but this one seems to be having some lint issues. And it's a hot potato, it is. Whew. Hot, 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 hot. And if you just, you can blow out the lint that's on it. Use your hand too if you don't want to get. It's almost, well, it really is too hot to handle. Okay, now we've got our first coat done. Now we're going to heat the oven up first at 170, and I think we're already there, so I really would like to get some more of that lint off. Yeah. I'm not real happy with my lint-free rags at the moment, but I'm going to take some compressed air and blow them out. Okay, so we had done the self-clean on the pan, and it came out gray, and then I scrubbed it off with the scour pad, and then the pan was still hot, so I went ahead after it was clean and put a coat of flax oil on it, and now it's got one thin coat on it. There's no excess oil in it at all. I dried it out good, and then I blew it off with some compressed air to get some of more of the lint off of it. So now we've got a nice clean and basically our first coat of oil on it. So now we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven and turn it on to 500 degrees and cook it for an hour upside down. And after the hour, Then we'll shut off the oven and let it cool down for 2 hours, and then we'll start our next coat after that. Okay, so I skipped the last one, which was the second coat. This will be the third coat onto this pan, and there's a little bit of some buildup, and we want to smooth that out. So what I do for that is I use Lodge or generic little scraper, and that is one of these little things, and it lets us kind of smoothly scrape off any imperfections. It also makes it so that it doesn't peel up bubble or cause a weird imperfection on the surface of it. So, oh, and the flax oil is refrigerated, so you always want to keep it in the refrigerator. So now this is after the pan has been baked for an hour and then cooled for 2 hours, and now the pan is still really hot, so I have to use a hot pad to handle it, but I'll squirt some flax oil into it and spread that out all over the whole surface. And if you use a wet coat, the rag will soak up a lot of that oil, so that when you do the backside, you've got enough oil on the rag to put a coat onto the rest of the surface of the pan. And you want to do the pan on both inside and outside, so the whole pan is evenly seasoned. And then I put a drier portion of the lint-free rag to the inside, and I want to make sure and wipe off. I'm basically drying it off, but on the pans that have a texture, you can put a little bit thicker coat. So this is actually a thicker coat than what I would do on an old pan that's really smooth, because a really smooth pan does not allow you to put very much oil on it, because if you put too much oil on it, it just causes it to bubble. And on a really smooth pan, you have to put really thin coats, so you have to put even more coats than what you have to do on one of these pans. These pans have been made like this with a texture so that they can make a process of hanging them, and they spray them with an oil as they put them through an oven, and then they're pre-seasoned. If you tried to do that with a real smooth pan, the oil would just slip off and pool at the bottom and not put a very good coating on it. So anyways, we're starting our third coat, and it's nice and black now, but actually if you take it outside in the sunlight, it'll actually look brown. It's kind of weird. I mean, in the daylight, or underneath your lights in the house, it looks black and a very nice finish. But what we want to do is build this up so that this rough surface will be actually really smooth, and it makes it be a non-stick surface. This is actually a really good coat for our base coat. Everything looks really uniform and smooth, and just go from there. Okay, so this is after 3 seasonings. just out of the oven, and it looks looking pretty smooth. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Okay, ready for starter number 4 there. So I could wipe it down just a little bit more. Okay, so now we are on coat number 6. This is after 5. I want to make sure it's smooth and doesn't have any bubbles. And there's still a texture on the bottom. It's not a little bit of thick buildup there. So this is number 6. And we've been using the same rag to wipe the oil into it, and it is very saturated with oil, so it doesn't take very much to actually coat the pans now with this same rag. We just want to rub fresh oil over everything. So we've got a wet coat on there. We're going to put it back in the oven, and then we're going to, well, for our presentation, I'll just go ahead and wipe it out. What we're doing is wiping off the excess so it will build up a very even light coat, but then doing it multiple times just makes a very nice coat. Okay, go from there. Okay, so this is our pan after seasoning 9 times, and it's starting to get a smooth surface, but it still has kind of that texture to it, but it has a very good seasoning on it. It's layered, it's smooth, it's even, doesn't have, I was going to say any, very little imperfections or extra drips or anything. And now we'll heat it up and do an egg test.